want to say thanks to everyone who came up to me and said, hey, at the Arnold, it was really great to see you in person, and I hope to see you again at the Olympia, at the Arnold, or whatever it might be. And if you ever see me in public, I know I might look scary, but I'm actually a really great guy with a little bit of autism, so come say hey. Too bad Jordy Dix wasn't there, though. That's all I gotta say. Too bad. Anyways, for those of you who were there, you might have seen me walking around with a mic and an Asian girl, and we were taking videos of people asking them questions, like, are you natural or not? And if they weren't natural, I had asked them what they were taking, and I was shocked by the results of this. I was basically trying to interview as many people as I could for a social experiment. I didn't hold back in any of these interviews. I give you everything that they told me. And before I show you these clips, why don't you go ahead and click subscribe? I would love if you did that, and I'll notice it, and I'll buy you a Bugatti if you do. Literally, if you click subscribe and go look at your front door out into the driveway or garage, or maybe it's a street, whatever you got, I don't judge, you'll see a Bugatti with a big bow tie on it. The bow tie will be red, and the Bugatti will be of various different colors, so that will be there for you. The results may vary, but I got you. So let's get into it before Kenny KO says I'm stealing his question, which somehow he's trademarked a question. Very interesting. Guess he's falling out of relevance so hard that it's too much for him to hear somebody else ask the same question that he often asks.
Are you natural or not?
As of recently, no.
What are you taking?
Anavar and
How much?
10 milligrams.
A?
Yeah.
Why not 15?
Because I don't really like to take anything in general, and I just started, so I'm just like, I don't know, trying to not overdo it off the rip. So I've been spending the past year trying to recomp. So the past 60 days I've been on Anavar and Clen, and I've definitely seen like the biggest difference in like my muscle mass and cutting my fat. So I might go up to 15. I'm like trying to not, because that shit is obviously addictive. Now I see why people aren't natural.
She said that she's been taking Anavar for 60 days and it's been going great. She started clenbuterol and the body recompositioning is awesome. But this also implies that it's going great, meaning she's probably going to use it longer. And once women get past about 90 days or so of exposure, which is kind of the upper tolerable limit for me as a person who understands a little bit of the science and nuance, I get worried. I get worried because of the virilizing effects, something we've talked about many times before, whether that's vocal fold thickening, where the voice gets deeper by quite a few octaves. You can think about it like a guitar string getting thicker, and when you strum that guitar with a thick guitar strings,
what the fuck was that?
It becomes a deeper guitar sound. It's so true with the voice. But also there's more things. You have male pattern growth in hair and then male pattern baldness. It's an interesting thing. You start growing hair in all of the wrong places and losing it in all of the wrong places. Also, the dose issue here is pretty shocking because 10 milligrams of Anavar a day would equal 70 milligrams a week. We've talked about before the normal dosing for trans hormonal therapy. So women who are looking to become transgender or turn into male take a dose of 60 milligrams of testosterone per week. So we're already above that by 10 milligrams, and Anavar, while not testosterone, is a derivative of testosterone. It's touted as a female-safe hormone, but it's still a hormone, has the same actions and mechanisms as every other hormone that is taken. It is an androgen, a male hormone that women are using. Now, in concert with something like clenbuterol, you do have to develop a little bit of a concern. Well, mild here and not something that I would personally be super worried about. Clenbuterol mixing with Anavar can lead to cardiomegaly, which is basically just your heart growing, and that growth of your heart can reduce its output, its function, or ejection fraction. This is a very bad thing. It can lead to your heart stopping, having a heart attack, or just having a very weak heart, where if anything stressful were to happen, say some certain virus, you could be at risk. This cycle is actually pretty dangerous, and here's what I would do differently. If you had to take anything as a female, which I don't think you should, clearly, but if you did, I would start at 2.5 milligrams of Anavar a day as compared to the 10 milligrams a day. This will reduce your dose exposure drastically, but it's still going to put you into a super physiological range of male hormones, which will initiate anabolism and grow muscle for you. I would also use clenbuterol in this context if the person is already dieting extremely hard and they've hit a plateau. They just seemingly can't lose more weight. They keep dropping the calories, nothing happens. They keep doing more cardio, nothing happens. Clenbuterol is a really great tool in that case, but we don't just start at a very high dose. You start at a micro dose of clenbuterol. Likely not what this person was taking at all, to be honest with you. Not even close. So I honestly hope this is more helpful than harmful to this girl. She needs it, and hopefully she has an amazing journey and continues to improve, but doesn't depend so much on ridiculous doses of Anavar.
Are you natural or not?
No. Test and trend and mass. Not that much, honestly. Like, it's probably 550 test, 550 mass, 300 trend.
What's the most you've ever ran total milligrams?
Well, I compete. I'm a competitor, so, you know, it's part of the sport if anybody don't want to talk about it, but probably 2 grams a day. I have taken growth before, but it's like really expensive, so you have to take a lot.
Him referring to not that much here, while he's taking an abundance of a gram of testosterone and variants of testosterone, is pretty radical. He's wearing also a chain saying that growth hormone's too expensive, which is also a touch concerning for me. Now, he does here say that bodybuilding is a competitive sport and it does require the use of steroids. He's not wrong. Bodybuilding might look good from the face value or when you're looking up from down below the stage, but the reality is, guys, it's a chemical warfare. A lot of these guys are using several different drugs, several different classes of drugs, some stuff that you could probably never get your hands on, and blasting it to smithereens. They're juiced to the gills. Their socks are soaking wet with testosterone, trenbolone, and whatever else they've been using. It's just kind of how it is. However, there is smart ways to go about it, or at least smarter ways to go about it that are least harmful. Things like trenbolone should be avoided at all costs unless you're very close to a show window, something like 8 weeks out from a very important show. The reasons being, which I've talked many times before about, is the true cognitive dysfunction that trenbolone can cause. We see it shifting brain architecture in a permanent sense, something that you can never get back, and once that's changed psychologically, you have changed. He says his max dose was 2 grams per day, which likely was a mistake. He probably meant, I hope it was a mistake, he probably meant 2 grams per week of total androgens. What's interesting is he says that this is his most, that's the most he's ever ran, but he said that what he's running now is not that much, but it's not that far off from 2 grams. So there's a lot to consider with this. I don't know if he's telling the truth, but the reality of the situation is, yeah, bodybuilding is a competitive sport. He has to take a lot of drugs. And the unfortunate reality is if you don't have pinnacle genetics, you're going to need more drugs than the other guy that does have pinnacle genetics. So some of the least impressive physiques that aren't like Mr. Olympia are taking more than Mr. Olympia to achieve a less than adequate result. It's just how it is. It's the sport. You need to do what you need to do to get to where you want to go. And sometimes that does require extreme use of things. This applies for males and females, but unfortunately, it's not great for your health. It's not great for your mind. I don't typically like the idea of it. And if you just simply don't have the genetics that align with the sport, you probably shouldn't be doing it. What we're seeing in real time with this individual, and I'm again not trying to bully or besmirch anyone, but this is just a static image of a person who is doing these things, is skin aging. I don't know how old this guy is, but I'm sure he's much younger than he comes off looking. In hair loss, we can see that hair follicle miniaturization happening real time. This hairline is whacked way back, and that is definitely going to happen when you're taking this amount of steroids at any point in time. Now, if I was to reconstruct this cycle or make something a little bit more proactive, I'd say that he could probably be running testosterone at a higher dose with an equivalent dose of primobolan or masteron. These are both FDA approved drugs, ones that I would reliably say can be very good compared to the other alternatives, which are not FDA approved and haven't really been tested in humans for a long enough time. I would also say that while the growth hormone is expensive, these days it's really not. It's not that expensive, especially if you can get it from a good source. In most countries, it's completely legal. America's just kind of falling behind in obsolescence because it just sucks. I don't know. America's fucking weird like that. It literally prescribes 12-year-olds Adderall, methamphetamine, but once you take testosterone, to the jail, buddy. You're going to jail. So yeah, I mean, I would say get growth hormone. It's going to reduce your total need for total anabolics. Like it's going to reduce how many anabolics you need to get an equated result because the growth hormone is going to supplement the result. Now, growth hormone is uniquely innocuous. It means it's not going to be harmful as compared to taking a ton of androgens. And so you can take it, offset the amount of androgens you need, and likely yield a better result. It's kind of a no-brainer, even if it is more expensive. If you care about your health long-term and your appearance, it's probably something you want to be using.
Are you natural or not?
I am not. Just test and what is it? So I'm taking test and primo.
Primo? How much?
I'm just doing about 250 tests and about 150 primo right now.
How much is the most?
Total for like everything all together for a single cycle would be like at least 1,000 total.
Okay, this cycle's actually not too bad. Maybe he watches my content. Testosterone and the DHT derivative is likely the safest option if you're going to choose the least safest route, which is using steroids, that we have. The doses are a bit questionable. More drugs definitely work better, but they also hurt worse than less drugs. This guy was 30 plus years old, so maybe he is at the point in which he needs this many drugs to supplement his progress. But I usually would say for someone his size, it doesn't seem, and I'm just saying from face value, not what I know from the individual, but it does seem like he was just kind of started the route of anabolics. Maybe he's on his second or third cycle. This is a little bit of a high dose there, just a little bit. I wouldn't say it's terrible. Again, I'd probably say that this is a better dose compared to what the other guy was running. But again, he could have inferior genetics compared to superior genetics, and therefore is going to be requiring a greater dose to achieve the same net result, or even less of a result.
Are you natural or not?
I am not. 1 year into not being that. 10 milligrams of bar and T3. I'm on 10 milligrams of that too.
Okay. Are you competing soon?
I am.
How long have you been running bar for? Curious.
A year and a half to 2 years.
Okay. Straight.
Okay. No, actually I stopped. My dad ended up dying. So we went off of prep and then I weaned off of bar and then just jumped back on about 6 bar for about 8 months, and then T3 we just started.
Whoa, okay. A lot of wild statements within this video. I hope you like the edits there. I did that myself. 10 milligrams of Anavar. Again, I don't know why this is such a standardized dose and have been taking it for 8 months. That is ludicrous. Absolute virilization, absolute permanent changes to this female, or if she's even getting real Anavar, because it doesn't seem like anything's happened in a certain way that she wanted. And then also taking Cytomel or T3, which is the endogenous hormone that we have, which fuels our metabolism. When you hijack that system and take it exogenously, some really crazy things begin to happen. But taking it in a situation where you're not actively trying to cut, and you don't even know the dose of what you're taking, because 10 milligrams isn't a dose that's standardized to T3. In fact, you'd probably die if you took that dose. It is in micrograms, and the standard dosing comes at 12.5 micrograms and scales to 25 micrograms and beyond if people are really psychopathic. But it starts at 12.5 micrograms. Unlikely that she was taking 10 micrograms, and it's concerning because the coach was probably directing her protocol, but she doesn't know exactly what she's taking. If I was her, I would definitely, again, be shrinking the Anavar dose down to nothing or 2.5 milligrams a day. I don't know why these coaches are coming out of the woodwork talking about 10 milligrams of Anavar for women who they're not bodybuilders. Like they're not huge. They're not that crazy impressive. These women don't need 10 milligrams of Anavar a day. They need 2.5 if they even need anything, which most of the time they just need more time, damn it. They just need more time doing the stuff that they haven't freaking done yet, like eating more protein, training harder than last time, and consistently doing that for years and years and years. Like, yes, competing is the goal, but you have to understand that you can't just decide you want to be a competitor and then compete tomorrow. It's a lengthy process, and you can shortchange it, but you're shortchanging your health and causing permanent changes to your body in the process. And then taking T3 is just so senseless. It blows my mind. If you're going to take something that annihilates fat, you might want to start with something like clenbuterol, as the last girl is using, again at a very low dose, because it is not a hormonal agent. It's not going to impede the function of a natural endogenous hormonal process in your body. It's going to act independently on the beta-adrenergic system, which is completely independent of the hormonal system. And so you don't have to worry about shutting down your thyroid axis or causing impairment or hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, which all have terrible effects within the female body. There is a time and a place for thyroid, likely within a female bodybuilder's preparation for a bodybuilding show, but it's far and few between, and it's not something she should be using when she's the furthest possible distance away from a show. It's extremely problematic. I mean, extremely problematic, because it seems like this female, well, I'm sorry for her loss, doesn't really have an idea of how long she's supposed to be running something, what dose she's supposed to be running it at, what she's even running. Overall, I think this video series, which I got a lot more, and I suggest you follow me on Instagram to catch them there, but it showed me what a majority of the people were running behind the scenes within the industry. And to be honest, I'm glad that these people were willing to come out, tell me what they were taking, and I'm a complete stranger to them, or maybe they've seen my content. A few people did, which is cool, but many of them haven't. And so they're just talking to a random stranger about this stuff openly. And I think that's great because it creates conversations. It creates an open dynamic where people can criticize and learn. And I think that's a very healthy thing for our society. It did show me a lot of the irresponsible juicing that's going on, or uneducated juicing that's going on. Is this something that's problematic? Well, it's hard to say with a population of human beings that seem to crumble to every desire. It could be partying, gambling, sex, drugs, you name it. Out of all of the things in our society that we can fall into, I think steroids is likely the least harmful, or one of the least. When you compare it to alcohol, it's just a laughing joke. It's far worse, far worse, okay? Steroids, yes, they're bad. They're not good. I talk about it in every single video. They're not the worst thing you could be doing to yourself, and there is a lot more worse things you could be doing to yourself. Steroids likely isn't damaging society as a whole most of the time. It's doing its part, but compared to all of the other psychopathic shit we have going on, it's probably not at the top. Statistically speaking, some of the things that we have in our society, like drinking, like gambling, and much more, are far more harmful than, again, statistically speaking, steroids. Now, I do think that this is presenting a problem because I'm finding that more and more people are on higher and higher doses of androgens and other harmful steroids, which trenbolone being one of the biggest culprits here. I don't understand why everyone needs to be on trenbolone. And then that is permeating itself within social media and young individuals and their content. So I think that's a very bad thing, clearly. Like, that is a 100% bad thing. However, in the same breath, I do completely believe that freedom of your own body is critical. You should be able to do with your body what you want to do with it. If that means take psychopathic amounts of steroids, that means take psychopathic amounts of steroids. As long as you're not harming other people, who gives a shit? Obviously, the influence is what matters, and people are posting about it online chronically, not talking about things like this between you and I, and it does some harm. YouTube thinks that you will appreciate this video, so give her a click and tell me what you think.